Of Ready to Love for this week. It starts off where it left last time, where Liz was trying to speak to David, and David was trying to speak first. So they were arguing. David kept saying he wanted to speak first. Liz kept saying she wanted to speak first. You're a gentleman, aren't you? You're going to let me speak first, and so forth. And David knew that she was going to pretty much eliminate him. So he tried to get the jump and self-eliminate. Before he did that, though, he tried to shut her up with a kiss, and she pushed him away. She refused the kiss. And he said he was done and he was leaving. He said, "I'm out." Ronald was getting eliminated by Alexis, and they were having a more earthy argument. Ronald was the one who said, "You can't do nothing for me," and insulted Alexis. And then when Alexis said that he had been eliminated because he was not ready to love, Ronald said, "I thought you were smarter than that." And then he started to say, "I've been talking to Amber, and I kissed Amber." And that was a shock to Alexis. And then he said, "I'm going to do me." And she gave him a hug and said, "Take care of yourself." And clearly Ronald did not want to be eliminated. So they have lost two people, David and Ronald, and they are told that the next part of this show is going to be done on a ranch. So they all arrive one by one, and each person greets their first choice. Joel sees Renisha, and she looks very nice in a brightly colored outfit, and they have a nice reunion. And then, of course, Jason comes, and he sees Liz, and he's very impressed with her form-fitting outfit, jeans with a long-sleeve top. AJ comes, and he is matched with both Kyra and Alexis. Then Amber comes, and she had just left work. She had to come straight from work to this place, and she is matched up with Chris. I think I mentioned everybody, and they're doing fine. They're having fun. They're going about. Joel takes on the cooking duties. He becomes the cook for the night. And that also helps him because he has matched himself with three people. He has matched himself with Vernisha, Amber, and Kyra. So by cooking, he's out of the way, and he doesn't have to really get in the mix as much as the people who are just socializing for the whole time. One of the first dates is horseback riding, and Jason and Liz, AJ, and Kyra go out horseback riding. And this is a little tricky because Jason is hooked up with Liz and Kyra on this date, so he has to be a little bit more careful about what he does and what he says. He doesn't want to make a choice. AJ is there with Kyra, who he had a previous relationship with many years ago, and so they're trying to see if they can rekindle that relationship, if they can see if anything is there. But he doesn't have to worry about his other person, Alexis. I don't think she's on this date. I didn't see her. So Jason seems to be more with Liz on the date, and AJ seems to be more with Kyra. But it is a horse riding date, so they'll be mixing around with each other, and they're not really one-to-one. That goes well, and then they finish up the horseback riding. They come back to the house, and Joel is still cooking. Vernisha, Kyra, and Amber are sitting at a table, and they're talking about their connections. So Vernisha says she feels very good and feels she has a great connection with Joel. And Amber is thinking, well, she had heard that Joel had picked Kyra as the person he would leave with if he had to leave tomorrow from the show, and he felt that Kyra was the perfect person for him. Joel hears his name being mentioned and comes over, and the conversation is light, and Amber says, didn't you pick Kyra as your number one the other night when you were asked who you would leave with if the show ended right then? And Vernicia was shocked. What do you mean, picked Kyra? Joel is surprised when Amber asks him whether or not he said he would leave with Kyra on the last men's meeting, because he acts like he thought that his response would have been a secret. I don't know why he would have thought that, because it's been disclosed frequently that all of these people talk with each other frequently when they're not on camera, on off days, overnights, and so forth. So he should have known that when he said Kyra, that everybody was going to be talking about that with somebody. And so it was not a surprise to, I think, most of us that Amber knew that Joel had said Kyra at the men's meeting. And then Joel says, yes, he did pick Kyra as his number one. Venetia's very upset, and Joel says, well, you don't have to worry. I picked Kyra, but that doesn't mean that I'm more serious about Kyra than you. Well, of course, Venetia doesn't accept this, and she's very upset, and so she's grumbling because she was being played. She felt, here he was giving her all of these feelings that they were close, they were each other's number one, and now she finds out for some reason he picked Kyra, and he can't understand why. He had kissed Amber. He and Amber had a couple of dates, and he had kissed Amber, and she knew about the kisses from Amber, but she had never known that Joel also had an interest in Kyra. So this interest in Kyra was new information for her, and it was something else for her to feel insecure about. While Joel is cooking, Venetia comes out and is upset about the information, and Joel again repeats she doesn't have to worry, what didn't mean anything, they have a great connection, and so forth. But that doesn't help Venetia, and she goes out and she's really upset at the table, and so Chris comes in and says, this woman is really, really upset. You're going to have to really apologize. You're going to have to give a firm apology about what you did and mean it, so that she can feel a little bit better about her situation. So Joel eventually does apologize to Venetia for mentioning Kyra as the person that he would leave with, and he keeps putting his face in her face and standing real close behind her and breathing down her neck and reaching around her and so forth. And she starts to smile. She's feeling better, and she usually has a smile on her face when she's around Joel, but she now does have this worry in her mind about Kyra and what kind of situation exists between Joel and Kyra. So when everyone comes back, they have dinner, and things are going well. Venetia is enjoying the food, and she's eating continuously. She doesn't even really stop eating to talk. She's eating ravenously as if she hasn't seen food for all day, at least. And Joel is trying to talk with her and continuing the nice talk so that she feels better. and he mentions he likes her ebony lips. She says, what do you mean by ebony lips? He says, oh, you got thick lips, or something like, thick black lips, or something like that. And so that was kind of a strange thing to say, and it made me think that maybe Joelle really normally doesn't date black people, because that's kind of a strange thing to say. If you're black and you see another black person, you don't normally talk about their ebony lips. So that was kind of unusual. Jason and Liz, to me, don't seem to have a real connection. They go out at one period of time and sit outside in the dark, and they're trying to make conversation, and they have trouble making conversation. Liz says she would like Jason to rub her feet, and Jason is rubbing the outside of her boots. After he's finished rubbing her boots, they still don't have conversation. So to fill in the blank spots, Jason moves in and kisses Liz on the lips, but it's not an emotional kiss. I mean, it's kind of a kiss that one would give if they don't know what to say. They have nothing to talk about, and so they just kiss to fill in the time. Jason doesn't really seem to spend that much time with Kyra, and Kyra says she is more inclined to pick Jason as her first person, but she is also open to exploring a relationship with AJ since, they had a relationship in the past. When everybody was eating dinner, it was notable that Jason sat at a table with Liz to have his dinner. Alexis is feeling very uncomfortable. She doesn't feel as if she really has a real connection, so she pressures AJ to find out what exactly he's feeling. She says that she has called him multiple times and that he never responds to her. So AJ makes some excuses. She says, well, ever since they kissed when she went out on a double date with Jason and Liz, she said the kiss was nice, she said, but nothing has happened since then, and she doesn't feel as if AJ is responsive to her, and she feels that means that he has chosen Kyra over her. So she is not looking happy, she's looking disgusted, she's feeling pressured because she has no one else if AJ doesn't pick her. She's feeling stiff and just generally does not look happy. So the group decides to play Truth or Dare. AJ is asked whether he prefers Alexis or Kyra. AJ says, well, they're different, and I like them both for different reasons. He says he likes Kyra because she's familiar. He knows her. They've had time together, and they're having fun exploring the possibility of a future relationship. He likes Alexis because she's new, and Alexis takes that to mean that she has a chance with AJ, and she says she feels comfortable with AJ giving that answer. And during Truth or Dare, they ask Jason whether he would choose Liz or Kyra, and Jason says he's torn between them, and when asked to actually make a choice, Jason says he'll take a dare and he can't decide. He doesn't want to say one name or the other. He's playing the middle road. Oh, and when they get to Joel, he chooses a dare. He doesn't want to tell the truth. So they told Joel and Vernicia to kiss for 5 seconds. And they're surprised that this was what they were asked to do. And they're very awkward in trying to kiss for even 5 seconds. I mean, the kiss isn't a real kiss. It's very difficult for them to kiss, and so it shows they really is, kind of fake. And even in the middle of 5 seconds, Vernisha has to put her hand up to cover her and Joel's mouth so that they can't see whether or not these two are even kissing during the 5 seconds. So that's a very short period of time, and so if you can't kiss for 5 seconds, that means to me that there is no connection there. When they asked Kyra who she would choose during Truth and Dare, she, I believe, says she feels a connection with AJ, and doesn't make that same statement with Jason. And for Amber and Chris, their dare was for Chris to massage Amber's feet for a few minutes. So they did that without a problem. So I think I went over all of the couples. No. The evening ended with the couples wanting to know exactly what happened when Liz told David he was not ready for love, and when Alexis told Ronald that he was not ready for love. Well, Liz gave her summary of how David left, and that he said he had self-eliminated himself, and Liz says, well, I wish you had told me that, and how he left, and it was not on good terms, but she said she didn't think that he was that way and was surprised with how he acted. Alexis said they had a confrontational exit, and then she lashed out at Amber and said when Ron left, he mentioned that he had been dating Amber and had kissed Amber, and that she now feels that Amber is a Judas because she and Amber were very close and had been telling each other she thought everything. And when Ron left, he told Alexis that he had been dating Amber and kissed Amber, and Alexis felt that she had been betrayed because Amber had never told Alexis that this had been going on with Ron. And that's pretty much how it ended, with Alexis unloading a lot of her issues on Amber, and that'll be followed up in the next week. Alexis is upset with Kyra because she hasn't made a choice between AJ and Jason. Alexis feels that Kyra will come out and say she's more interested in Jason, but until Kyra actually says that, both Jason and AJ are very interested in having Kyra as being their number one. So Alexis is developing hostility towards Kyra because Kyra has her interests in both AJ and Jason, and of course if Kyra should pick AJ, that would mean Alexis wouldn't have anybody and she would be eliminated. Vernisha says she feels very secure with Joel, and Joel says that Vernisha is his number one. So in summary, Joel has re-chosen Vernisha as his number one, and Vernisha has some doubts, but she has no choices. Her only potential partner would be Joel. Without Joel, she would be eliminated. So Joel and Vernisha will be together. But I don't think this is a real relationship. I don't think that they have a real connection, but I don't think they have much of a choice at this point for this show right now. I think Jason will probably choose Liz for two reasons. One, he feels secure choosing Liz because Liz has no other choices. She only has Jason, and he has a phony connection with Liz, but it's not a real horrible connection, so he'll feel safe in choosing Liz. Kyra will choose AJ because she's not sure about where Jason's going, and Jason has shown a lot of attention to Liz on the horseback riding date, and also when they were eating, Jason ate with Liz and so forth. So I think Jason will choose Liz for the person, his number one, at the men's meeting. AJ will choose Kyra because he doesn't have a good connection with Alexis, and I don't think he would be happy having to continue a fake relationship with Alexis. And so I think he'll bite the bullet, and although Alexis is secure because she has no one else she can go to, I think he will probably say, knowing that one of the women has to go and that it is possible he might still hook up with Kyra if Alexis leaves, I think he will bite the bullet and choose Alexis to leave next week. Amber and Chris are together and have no issues. I don't believe their relationship is a love connection, but I do believe that they enjoy each other's company, that they're friends, they look like they get along well together, and so I don't think they have an issue for next week. Joel, because he is angry at Amber for her telling Vernisha about him picking Kyra at the last men's meeting, he could lash out and say he wanted Amber to go. That would leave Joel with still two people. He would have Vernisha and Kyra, and he would be able to strike back at Amber for what she told Vernisha at the cabin. So it is a possibility that Amber could get a vote to be thrown out at the men's meeting because of what she said to Vernisha about Joel. Chris would be ousted by the women, and that would leave Joel, AJ, and Jason as the men left in the group. Another twist could be that both Jason and AJ could vote to oust Kyra because they have to make a choice. And if Jason picks Liz, he doesn't need Kyra. And if AJ picks Alexis, he doesn't need Kyra. So they could end up with Kyra going and all of the men having the woman that they really like as their first choice. Jason would have Liz, AJ would have Alexis, Joel would have Vernisha, and Chris would have Amber. So if they throw out Kyra, the men would all have a fairly satisfying first choice, and they wouldn't have to keep trying to figure out what's the deal